Hello, everyone. This is the Free American Press with your host, Alexander Horat, broadcasting on Independence Day. And today I wanted to make a video on legal plunder and some of the ways our government is practicing that. So, first off, I'd like to show you Washington, D.C., and this really shows you something important that 9 out of the 15 most richest counties in the United States are actually in Washington, D.C. And that's because DC is packed with overpriced bureaucrats. And they're basically people working for the government, the federal government, with very good paychecks. So here's the map, some of the richest counties in the United States right here. Washington, D.C., and its Virginia suburbs, and many other parts of that. And if you look right here, federal bureaucrats are paid 78% more than private sector workers. And ordering people around is nice work if you can get it. So that's basically this by this fee stories. So my question is what are these federal bureaucrats? What are they doing that's so much more difficult than people in the private sector? Um, are they doing work that's a lot more difficult than people in the private sector? I don't really think so. What I think is going on right now is a state of legal plunder. And I'm going to go into legal plunder is actually really spelled out really well in the book, The Law. It says right here, quote, when a portion of wealth passes from the person who has acquired it without his consent and without compensation to someone who has not created it, whether this by force or fraud, I say is there have been a violation of property rights and there has been an act of plunder. So here's a good definition of legal plunder in that basically, like, say, the government, they're going to build a road, for a good price, they're going to build it as cheaply as they can. They get the money from the taxpayers. So, that's actually a good exchange for your money. That's why we pay taxes. So, because we can't build the roads ourselves as a single person, we need more than just one person to build our roads. So we can drive around to get food and stuff. But when they build the same road for $10 million or a ridiculous amount of money, basically what they're doing is legal plunder. They're paying the consultants, the bureaucrats, an extreme amount of money for building the same road that they could have built for, say, $1 million. So that really shows you the definition of legal plunder. And we also see this isn't just federal government, this is happening in your own counties. We're seeing a lot of counties where the people are paid more than the vice president. In my county, Tuolumne County, we see uh, administrative people paid more than the vice president and other people. So it's pretty crazy. It says excessive salaries for state and local bureaucrats. USA Today reports on the growing compensation gap between bureaucrats and workers in the productive sector of the economy. So it's already documented how federal bureaucrats are overpaid. So the extravagant compensation for state and local bureaucrats is not very surprising. Right here, the gap is widening every year, rising by an average of $1.02 an hour last year and 2.45 an hour over the past 3 years. So we're seeing the gap between public and private sector jobs is vastly increasing. And we just need to look at communism and Soviet law to really see a huge amount of legal plunder, which is starting to transform America. I think America is starting to turn into more of a communist nation every day because what happened in Soviet Russia and Venezuela and other countries like that is that the people, the peasants, they were all moved on to big collective farms. They hardly had enough food to eat. They weren't paid anything. And the people who had all the money were these big state cartels, state corporations, basically corporate fascism. And they had all the money, they had all the wealth, and they had all the power because they were plundering from the poor peasants, basically making them work like slaves, serfs, just in another neat package called communism. And basically, we saw Fidel Castro. He took a lot of the farms in Cuba because he said it's going to serve the public as a whole. It's really great taking these farms, making these collective farms, because it's going to help everybody, and we're going to get rid of these rich landowners. But basically, he didn't make the problem any better. He became the rich landowner, basically as the government official. So that's legal plunder, everybody. If you see the government is taking, way more money than they should, if they're getting paid these ginormous salaries for a job in the private sector, they would never get paid that much. Something is wrong. And the problem with bureaucracies in local, state, and federal governments is that they're ever expanding because they're never go, they're unelected bureaucrats. Basically, what happens is that they tell their elected officials that we need more money in this, and then they have the teachers unions and all these other powerful political entities, and they can lobby right in because they are the government. These bureaucracies, they're unelected, they're not really accountable to the people, just to the people who serve, every 4 years and who get bought out by these big corporations anyway. And you see big corporations like ExxonMobil and others who are deeply in bed in the government. You see them get like super powerful positions like Secretary of State, uh, all these other ones. So that really shows you they get in bed with the government and they continuously try to expand it. So what we need to do is we need to lower their pay, first of all, so we can spend the money on something more important like roads and other necessities. And we just need to make the machine smaller. We need to say, you can't get paid more than a private sector worker. Basically, you can just cap it as a private sector, what a person in the private sector gets paid. And then if we do it that way, we're not going to see these huge pay gaps between the regular people and them. And that's what happened in Venezuela. Basically, the people who had the money were bureaucrats. They had all the money and everything. And everybody else was really poor and had nothing. So I really think we all need to teach others about legal plunder and the definitions and start changing it within our counties, our states, and then the federal government. Because if we don't do it, the government will continue to get bigger and the little guy will continue to get smaller until we're basically peasants on collective farms and we have nothing. And that's the unfortunate thing that we all need to work against. So please do everything you can to stop that. Teach everybody about legal plunder and its implications. And I really hope you enjoyed this Independence broadcast. And I just hope you all have a good rest of your day. And thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, share this video with others. Thank you. Goodbye.